Hello, and first up, an apology. I haven't been uploading as much as I usually do because work's quite busy and I haven't got as much time to spend dicking about on YouTube. Secondly, it's the day after the late spring bank holiday, and it was the second time Mrs. Disgruntled and I have stayed at Muncaster Castle. Staying at the castle is quite surreal, because it's owned by people who are on the civil list. They are proper nobility, but they still get their hands dirty. For example, the owner, Lady Iona Frost Pennington. What name is Iona? If she was working class, people would point out that's not how you spell Fiona. Anyway, she can trace her lineage back that she is the niece of Jane Seymour, 14 generations down, and Jane Seymour was one of the wives of King Henry VIII. And on Saturday night, she fixed our telly. Also, Mrs. Disgruntled comes from Belfast and she's a proper city girl. Anything out in the countryside is something of a mystery to her. On Saturday night, she came out with this. Look at that tree. Look at that fucking tree. Look at how fucking tall that fucking tree is. It's like being married to Sir David Attenborough. The highlight of the weekend for me was the falconry displays. Now, this came as a shock to me, and if you're younger, this will come as a shock to you as well, because once you hit 40, stuff you thought was incredibly dull suddenly becomes fascinating. I currently have an ambition to be standing in a field, whirling round a lure, trying not to get hit in the face by a peregrine falcon that's stooping at 150 miles an hour. I enjoyed it so much that not only did I go to the display on Saturday with Mrs. Disgruntled, I also went back on the Sunday to watch it again, in case anything had changed in the space of 24 hours. But what was different was where I was seated. Because of COVID restrictions, people have to be spread out, so I found myself on a bench with a family of 6, a gap, and then me. And that meant I was sat right in front of one of the perches. Now, as was expected, anyone sitting in the flight path would have to duck as the birds made their way towards the falconers. But then they brought out a pair of vultures, and with every fly past, they were getting lower. I subsequently found out that these highly intelligent birds do this as a game. They're trying to see if they can get some fat idiot to fall off his bench. And on about the 5th pass, that's what happened to me, and the children sitting next to me learnt some new words. Would you fuck off, you feathery twats? So anyway, these vultures apparently take pleasure in annoying people. So I've adopted one of them. When I say adopted, I mean I'm paying for his upkeep and contributing to charities that work with conservation. It's not like I'm bringing him home. I live in a semi-detached house in Stoke-on-Trent. A vulture wouldn't fit. Having said that, I'd like to borrow him for a weekend. Just because my neighbour, he's a nice enough old boy, but all he talks about is his fucking racing pigeons. So just once, I'd love to go round to his back garden with a leather gauntlet and a massive African bird of prey and say, your pigeons don't seem so fucking interesting now. And I'd like to do the same thing at local fetes, because they always have a few bird fanciers with their zebra finches and budgies. I'd love to walk past with a vulture and say, yeah, fuck your canaries. And also, there's always that boar down the local pub who's got a minor bird that he's taught to speak 15 words. Again, I'd piss on his chips by saying, this lad here, he can smell a corpse at a mile away, he's got infrared vision, and he can ingest anthrax. Vultures are remarkable creatures. Their stomach acid is twice as corrosive as the acid found in a car battery. So in the wild, when they're scavenging, they're not only disposing of dead animals, they're also wiping out the diseases. So, this is my lad, Malarkey, which explains the title of the video. He's a hooded vulture, and in the wild they are almost extinct for 2 reasons. Firstly, witchcraft, because like every other exotic animal, there are witch doctors trying to use them to make hard-on pills, because large parts of Africa and Asia apparently haven't heard of Viagra. And they're also poisoned by poachers, because they've realised that whenever they shoot, say, an elephant or a rhino, the first thing that happens is the vultures start circling. So they're trying to make this species extinct so they can go back to slaughtering wildlife. Utter fucking scum. Before we drove home yesterday, I was watching the vultures in their aviary, and I heard a man say, look boys, vultures, aren't they ugly? And that was a bold statement from a morbidly obese chap with 2 ginger kids. And he was trying to take a photo and fell over and was struggling to get up, at which point the vultures started paying attention. So I thought, things don't look good for you, mate. I wanted to open the aviary up and say, go on, rip his fucking eyes out. And here I am with one of Malarkey's falconers, a charming, soft-spoken Scottish lady called Emma. And she's got that sort of voice where she could easily get a job working on a premium rate phone line. And she works with birds, so she's used to talking about cocks. That was a cheap joke, and I took it. So that's the end of this video. If you visit the Lake District, whether you live in the UK or you're just here on holiday, I urge you to go to Muncaster Castle, go and see the hooded vultures. Because, although there are types of bird like parrots which people have taught to speak, no one's done it with a vulture. So I'm hoping, if we all pile in over the course of the next 12 months, next year Malarkey will be the first vulture in the world to say bollocks. Thanks for watching.